Let's talk about it. Real truth and power. Health. Wealth. Knowledge of self. Uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power. Health. Wealth. Knowledge of self. Uplifting the community. Let's talk about it.
Peace and blessings, family. Welcome to the Real Truth and Power Live podcast. We have a phenomenal show. We have Nsaa, African Creations by Marjorie Nicole. So before I get in, you know how we do. Let me start off the show.
You are now tuned in to Real Truth and Power, the show that uplifts the community with health, wealth, and knowledge of self. Here's your host, Everett Winchester.
All right, family. Again, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. As you always know, we always try to promote and support our black entrepreneurs and also support our culture. And as you can see right here, we have a phenomenal stylist, designer. She has some phenomenal designs, and I just couldn't wait. It's been a couple of days, but I finally got her in, and I'm so blessed to talk to her and talk to her about her business. So let me bring her in right now. Miss Marjorie Nicole. Hold on one second. Peace and blessings, my sister. I finally got you on the show. I'm so blessed to be here. How you doing today?
Greetings, brother, and thank you so much for the invite. I appreciate being here. I'm super excited.
Oh, awesome. I first wanted to talk to you about the name of your business, Nsaa, African Creations. What is that? What's that mean, and what's that all about?
Well, it's Nsaa. It's actually a word. Nsaa is an Ndinkra symbol, just like the Ankh, the Janame. And Nsaa means done with excellence. So basically, everything I do it with the spirit of excellence. So, done with excellence, African Creations by Marjorie Nicole.
Oh man, that is powerful. That is definitely powerful. Now I want to talk to you a little bit because there's not a lot of people that do African culture as far as designing. What got you into just, wanting to do something culturally about Africa?
Well, I've been into the culture personally since the 90s. It's something that I got in, really young. I knew that I was different from my upbringing. So I kind of ventured out into the culture and did my rites of passage, like I said, back in the 90s, and had some really great mamas around me who taught me a lot. And as I got older, I still wore African clothes, but the designs were the same. 20 years later, I was like, I'm still wearing the same stuff. Like I wanted it to be a little fresh, a little funky. I was teaching in school. I wanted to be able to wear it to work. I wanted it to be more fitted sometimes, not always oversized. I just wanted a variation. So I just started with like tailoring my clothes. Like, but let me buy these already made clothes and just fix them so they perfect.
Right.
And then that into, well, let me create something I haven't seen. Well, let me try this. And it literally was just an act for me to sew for myself and my family.
Wow.
And then people pulled me out in the community, and it was like, well, I want one. I mean, my first year probably I sewed for people just for free because I enjoyed it and I was teaching myself how to sew.
Now that's interesting because I know before I got you on here, you were saying that you sew most of all of your clothes. You
Yeah.
design everything and you stitch it and everything. Talk to me
Yeah.
about that. How that came about, your experience with it, how difficult it is, because now you're talking about not only you providing clothing and gear, but it's handmade, so that makes it even extra special.
Absolutely. Well, honestly, the sewing part wasn't as difficult as it seemed, but because my background is I taught algebra and geometry, so the numbers and shapes and calculations just made sense. Like I could do the slope of a sleeve in my head when most people can't. So that math background helped a whole lot. And honestly, in the beginning, when I didn't know how to make something or I was trying to figure out how it was made, I would go to the Goodwill store, buy something, take it apart, put it back together, take it apart, put it back together, take it apart, put it back together until I felt like, hey, I figured this thing out. That math background really helped in this, and just having access to the fabric as the business grew, being able to have the authentic fabric because it was important to me for people to, not wave their fist in black power with Chinese fabric on. Like that was like my thing. And then I wanted to educate people. I wanted them to know like what part of the world the fabric came from. If I knew the meaning, I wanted to share it. I mean, just being a teacher by nature, I just wanted to talk to people about it. So that's kind of where it all started in the beginning. And then it just grew. And then as it grew, the shows came and then the models came and then it just grew and grew and grew until I said, I don't really need to teach anymore. This is probably what the ancestors will have me to do here. And then I realized I encountered people. I was able to talk to them about the culture. I was able to just encourage them about figuring out their own culture. And I just was blessed as other people were blessed. And it became part of my life. Insta is my life.
Now, let me ask you something because you said something that really hit home about, you know, getting things from China and stuff like that. I think you're providing a powerful service because one, you're doing it here, and it's representing our culture. Have you had any difficulty pushing your clothing line because of, a lot of people are not as Pan African as maybe you or I?
Yes. It was really more difficult in the beginning. And I call it the pre-Black Panther time. So prior to Black Panther, it was more difficult. Unless you were already in the culture, you wasn't specifically looking for cultural clothes. So it was like my same circle of people who believed and lived the same way I live, but in my heart, I wanted to introduce it to other people. I mean, of course, service, the people already had, but I wanted it to be widened, and then Black Panther happened, which I call my post Panther, and that's when it really grew. But the hard thing is China steals, which we all know. It's
Mhm.
really good at stealing. It's great at low labor. So the hard part comes: do I want to pay for this authentic, or do I want to just buy this cheap, stolen copy? So it just depends on how you look and feel about it. I would rather have one well-made authentic shirt than three stolen Chinese copies of a shirt. So it's just your out view of how you feel about it.
If you're just tuning in, we are live with our sister Marjorie Nicole from Nsaa African Creations. I hope I said that right. You just taught me on that, so we all learning together. That's wonderful. Let me ask you this because I just heard you say you, and I was watching your Facebook page. And for those that don't see, I have your Facebook right here, and the Instagram is right over there, down there somewhere. Talk to the people about some of the shows that you have been doing to promote your clothes and your gear, and how that came about.
Well, we do a couple of different things. Every year we have a fashion show. We just had the fifth one in October. We generally do it around October, right before the weather changes. This year we had it at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum. I mean, it was just great. It was phenomenal. And we celebrated the 5-year anniversary because we know most businesses don't make it, the first 5 years, and we were excited to be at that fifth year mark. But that's the fashion show every year, and that's where I kind of go in isolation and just kind of create new shapes, new things, stuff you may have not seen before, and where I just really get to be creative. Every year, we also do a Kwanzaa celebration, which is free and open to the public, and it's just about Black businesses getting together for a Black marketplace. We have speakers that teach you about each of the principles. We show you how you can incorporate it in your own life. We show you how to set the table. Just we have kids activity. It's just a family event, and we want people to appreciate and celebrate Kwanzaa as much as they do any other holiday. We also do a Black History Month every year. That's also, of course, we do that in February. And the same thing, it's just about unity. It's just about spending time together in a positive way. It's just about, hey, sister, you do the same thing as this sister. Why don't y'all talk about it? It's just about us joining forces and just becoming more powerful together. And this year, because we were in a pandemic, we got to do the Black History Month in February, but we're not going to do the Kwanzaa in December. But we did incorporate an outdoor Juneteenth. This year was the first year we did that.
Oh, wow.
Happy at how many people, and it was a free cookout. We gave out food and we had a good time. And again, it was all about fellowship. It was about getting together. It was about supporting each other. If it's just showing up, if it's just words of encouragement, if it's purchasing from one of the vendors, just showing up and just celebrating our culture together. And that will be an annual event as well here in Baltimore.
Wow. So we definitely got to get you back on and promote those. That's going to be some powerful events. And now that I know, I'm so blessed, so I can come out and support and have our people support you. I want to talk a little, let's get a little deep real quick about, I just want you to flow on the importance of our African culture. I got into my African heritage and culture late. So, of course, I was late instilling it in my kids. And now I'm trying, as they're getting older, to say, hey, man, I'm sorry, I dropped the ball when you were growing up. But this is where it's at. This is our culture. I'm doing DNA tests, learning about our true history and Kemet and all of that stuff. But I want you to just talk about the importance of Black people in America wearing cultural gear to represent Africa and just the importance of our connection going back to Africa.
And first, I would start with you are not late. You are here. And that is the beautiful part about it. Whenever you arrive to that place, it's a personal journey. And we all take the journey differently. I believe it's really important to show that pride. It's kind of like you showing up for battle and you don't have your armor on. We talk about calling the ancestors. We talking about doing libations at these events to welcome them into this space. But we honor our heritage in so many different ways, and clothes is just a small part of it. We have to speak the language. We have to understand that you say installing in your children. It was many, many years ago, so I'm definitely going to age myself. But from the time my kids could walk, I enrolled them in Maharifa, which was an African-centered school. So by the time they were 2-year-olds, they were wearing kente dashikis as uniforms. They were beating the
Wow.
drum. They were dancing. They was learning Swahili. And as they became teenagers, they're both grown now. As they became teenagers, they kind of went their own way, but both of them circled right back around to how they were raised in their 20s. And my daughter now raising my granddaughter the exact same way, which kind of
Wow.
surprised me.
Right.
So it's important. The clothes are really, really important. So basically, when you see a sister or brother in the street with a dashiki on, with pants on, with a kufi on, you tend to greet them in a whole different way. Just the sight of them brings out that brother and sister loving you. And automatically, you either raise your fist, you nod your head, or you, hey, brother, hey, sister. And the level of confrontation and disrespect kind of subsides because it's the spirit and you connecting with the spirit of that person because you got your armor on. You're saying to that person, you could be vulnerable. We brothers and sisters right now, we look just alike because we gravitate to things that look just like us. So it's important for even identifying, because all skin folks ain't kin folks. You identify.
That's right.
When you see people out in the streets, you looking and you identify. So it's important to put that armor on, to put the ancestors on, to bring them with you, to take them to work, take them into the streets, take them into the mall. I mean, everywhere you go, just take them with you, but you can't take them without your armor.
Man, that is just powerful. That is right. That is right. You are flowing. Please, if you just tuning in, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We want to get our sisters' information out to all the people. On the count of 3, hit that like and subscribe. 1, 2, 3, bam. I want to get into a little bit more because when you said that I'm not late, when did you get into it? Were you like always conscious? Or did it take a while for you to get the consciousness of Africa?
Both. I was about 18 or 19 and I attended Coppin State. So that's, where I was in the mid 90s. I grew up in an ultra Christian family. And in my teens, not just real rebelliousness, but just in my heart, I was like, this stuff don't sound right. It don't feel right. My grandparents were the pastors. I wasn't allowed to question. And then I was like, well, anything I can't question don't quite make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just literally ran across the sister on the street. Again, she had on cultural clothes. She had these long, beautiful locks. And she was like, hey, my sister. And I began to walk and talk to her because it was something about her and her armor that drew me to her. And she was a teacher at the school, my Harifa. And I just began to ask the sister questions. And everything she said was just speaking to my soul. I was 18 or 19 at the time. I got heavy into the culture. Like I said, went through the rites of passage, put my kids in the school, like did all of that. And I did what a lot of us do. I met a young man, got married, who was the opposite of cultural, and I allowed him to pull me away.
Okay.
And it wasn't until we divorced 10 years later that I was rebirthed into who I was already becoming earlier when I was in my late teens.
Right.
So once the relationship subsided, I revisited. I went literally the next day and I shaved all of the perm out my hair.
Oh my goodness.
And it's funny because I just shaved it 10 days ago now because I had locks, but I
Okay.
shaved it out of my hair. I began reading. I began seeking out the brothers and sisters who I was like, man, I'd have missed 10 years. So I felt how you felt, like I missed 10 years. Like I kind of went away. I got married, and I came right back into it. And the ancestors crossed a brother across my path with a dashiki on that was meant to be my
Wow.
life partner. So
Wow.
in the joint forces, he was already in the culture. I was getting back in the culture, and there was no apologizing. There was no fear. We just went full force into the culture, and we were both teachers at St. Francis.
Wow. Um, I want to get your opinion on this. It's a artist. You may know him. His name is Ernest Shaw. He's from Baltimore. He does a lot of murals all around. Um, and he mentioned something on one of the shows. He says symbolism creates, affects the conscious minds of Black people. And he was phone, and that's why we're attracted to symbols, kind of like symbols that they wrote in the Metanetta and on the pyramids and stuff like that. He says so. We're always attracted culturally by symbols. Talk about that statement he made and the importance of representing and showing our culture and making that symbolic of ourselves.
I'm not familiar with the brother, but he sounds brilliant. So one day I hope to become familiar with the brother. But he is absolutely right. Symbols are so important, which is why I named the business after an Ndinkra symbol, and my logo is that Ndinkra symbol.
Wow.
It's a symbol because it's the first thing you'll see is the symbol, and then you'll have to figure out what the symbol means. And hopefully, if you are into the comedics of any of it, it will draw you in. But you do become a living symbol. You do become, especially for the people who aren't conscious, because they are watching.
Hmm.
So you do become a symbol for the conscious life. And as humans, we look at things visually. We look at, how neat we are, how appealing we are. We look at things visually. So that symbol you have to think ahead of time. Is it drawing people in or is it propelling people away? So you kind of have to think about the total person of yourself and what are you symbolizing? What are you representing? What kind of message are you sending just by your being, just yourself? So that brother is deep, and I'm gonna have to think on that real hard to even to hear what he said, because that was deep.
Yeah, I think he had mentioned it when we had a show about the Washington Redskins, and well, they're not the Redskins anymore, and they went into he just went into symbolism. It's like it's just more than just the name; it's the symbolism and what it represents. I want to ask you to go into it a little bit about that school you mentioned, and the reason is well, before you go into to the school, just talk because you have a educational background as a teacher. Talk about how important it is for our kids to learn in school our culture, to be educated in our culture. because, like you said, you were at St. Francis. It's clearly a Catholic school, and we got to do what we got to do to get the proper education. But how can we change, and what systems would you like to implement in the school system, or even creating our own schools that could, provide more of a cultural base for our kids coming up? And before you say that, I just think if we start having those kind of schools and learning our true culture, I believe that will be an essence to some of the issues we have in the community.
I agree with you 100%. And even Maharifa, as beautiful as an environment it was, it perished due to lack of support from the community. The
Wow.
community trusted their children would get a proper education, when I can promise you my kids' work ethic and ability to multitask and ability to obtain information and to learn and grow came from that very place. So that saddened me. There's some other things that's starting to pop up and pop around, but we can't educate our children, through our enemy and expect our kids to be okay. I mean, we're not going to send our kids into a battlefield by themselves and they just expect to come out just educated, strong, self-assured, and self-loving people. That's not going to happen at all. And I do believe we need to build schools up in the way Maharifa was built up. But even beyond that, like my daughter is intending to homeschool my granddaughter. And I just think even collectively coming together, I was a teacher of math. My husband was an English teacher. This one could be good at science. And collectively we get together and we can educate all of our kids. You bring them over my house on Monday, we do math. This house, collectively we can accomplish anything. And kind of just to revisit St. Francis was a powerful place for me. Just understanding that the very first Black nun anywhere in the world opened and started St. Francis.
That's right.
Just from her coming here from Hades and saying, Black people aren't allowed to be educated. This is crazy. How can I change that culture?
Right.
I was drawn to the mission there, and it's still a very powerful place. Before she was Catholic, they burnt the school down that she started. And the Catholics assisted her in rebuilding. So in my mind, she used the resources she could get to accomplish what her goal was. It wasn't like she came to United States Catholic. She wasn't.
Right.
But Catholics are rebuilding. They offered her protection. They sent priests and brothers there to help protect the property. So she used what she could use to accomplish her goal. So I don't even look at it honestly as a Catholic school. It's not recognized by the Archdiocese. I'm not sure if you know that.
I didn't know that.
The Archdiocese did not represent St. Francis because she was illegally teaching Black children to read 40 years before it was legal.
Wow. See, I did not know that.
Don't recognize St. Francis in the Archdiocese.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Right. So it's a pretty powerful place. And it's little places like that is all over the country. If they recognize St. Francis, it will be the oldest Catholic school in the United States, and they're not going to let that happen.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I wanted to get into but before I go into the next question, there's a brother by the name of Baba Imhotep. I'm not sure if you ever heard of him.
From Pan-African Liberation Movement.
Yes, and he says that he has a daycare.
Yes, it's Aroma Watoto. Yes.
I didn't know the name, and I'm glad. What's the name of it again?
Watoto.
Okay, so yeah, we need more of that. And he was saying, I think he sent me to a link, and they were playing African drums and stuff like that. And he was also saying that, the kids are going on, like I think they only go to maybe the 5th grade or something like that. And he was saying that, the parents are like, they want to keep going, so he was looking for something else. You being at St. Francis, knowing the importance of having strong schools for our Black kids, especially in Baltimore City, how do you feel? What do you think we can do to push more daycare centers? I'm trying to get maybe a cultural center with like a library that, stuff like that. What do you think about that? Is it how can we go about just getting more of them? Is it that important, or do you think that I'm over exaggerating that process?
No, it's super important, and just to back up, the African Liberation Movement is definitely something that if you have a small child, you should be involved in, because they have a lot going on with young people in there and fundraising to build a school now for kids to be in school. So that's something to definitely connect with. When I think about the education system here, I think it's so many things going on, and we tend to reinvent the wheel versus joining forces with people who's already on the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Like Liberation, if you want to get into a school, what they fundraising, they getting it off the ground, they already doing it. Join forces, join finances, put all the resources in one place to get it going. Instead of 50 of us nickel and diming all over the place, we can all just build something powerful together and quicker together. So I think that's part of the issue. And you know, it's a little more difficult for me to see, being as though both of my kids are college educated in their 20s. So for me, my vision is a little bit further away from that place. My focus now is getting our brothers and sisters back on the soil that we were taken from. So when I think about Pan-African Liberation Movement, I think that's kind of their move. The
Mm-hmm.
younger people, the education, the daycare, and mine is, hey, let's go at least visit. Hey, I purchased property in Africa already. Mine is a different kind of rotation of movement.
Okay.
My movement was the education in school and education when I had small kids. So now my movement, is a little bit different. So, and I'm not gonna say I'm removed, but I haven't been in the classroom in 6 years now.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Let me ask you this, and got a couple more questions. I know you're a busy, beautiful sister, and I don't want to hold you up. You said you bought land over in the motherland, because I know a
Yes,
lot of people are doing it. How was that process? Was it difficult? Do you recommend it?
I do recommend it. I have a heart for Ghana. Like Ghana, it's kind of where I feel the most connected. So
Mm-hmm.
we decided to buy a quarter acre, a full plot in Kwabena, and we'll be there in December to kind of get the groundbreaking process going. Um, it's not a difficult process. We have family that already lives there.
Okay.
So us, it was a little bit easier. But once you visit, you will realize that the people over there need us to come back as much as we need to go back. And I've been East Africa, West Africa, I've been in a couple different countries, and I cannot think of a bad experience where I did not feel loved and welcomed and safe.
Mm.
So sometimes it takes us getting past our preconceptions of what's going to happen and just kind of show up. Um, last year was the year of the return. This year is, return and beyond. Most of those countries you can now buy land as a non-citizen. You just connect with the people there, and you ask questions. In Ghana, there are communities of African Americans who kind of live in the same communities together in Africa. And it is cheap. I see the brother said it's cheap. It is very inexpensive.
I think this
Like I
brother is from Ghana. I think he lives in Ghana, I believe. He's one of our viewers.
so so he already know what I'm talking about. Being not too far from Accra, so that's a really nice gated community. You mentioned something earlier about doing your DNA. Well, I did mine recently.
Hmm.
Um,
What were your
very
results? You get them back?
so my result is on my mom's side. I am Mindy from Sierra Leone, which is why my first trip there is coming up.
Uh-oh.
So I found that out about a month ago, and I have already laid the groundwork to spend quite a bit of time there. I'll be in Ghana, and then I'll leave from Ghana and go straight to Sierra Leone. The Ghana was already planned, but I was like, there's no way in the world I'm gonna know where my blood comes from.
Right.
Go while I'm on that side of the world. My overall results for my mom and my dad was I was 74% West African.
Wow.
I feel more connected to the West. When I went to East, I was like, this is beautiful, this is cute, but I just didn't feel connected. But
Right,
that's not
right.
what with my mom's side, I'm 100% Mindy, Sierra
Okay.
Leone.
Oh, wow.
Nothing else.
Wow.
So I knew that was a place I had to go. So already there's a whole welcome and celebration planned. There'll be a renaming ceremony first and last. I've already identified my family there. I'll take the last name of my family, the first name, whatever the chief elders give me. And I am going to apply for a passport and citizenship while I'm there with my results.
Oh man, that's powerful. Yeah, I think my results was I was like from three different tribes, but they all were
Okay.
affiliated in Gabon. So
Okay.
that's from my dad's side. So I want to do my mother's side, and then from there, once I get those results, then I got some planning to do. I got some money to save because I got to get over there. Before I let you go, and I wanted to get your clothes up so we could just promote that real quick. A lot of people don't understand the styles of African clothing, and I'm glad that you on here. Maybe you could break it down a little bit um, about what some of the clothes represent, if you could see that. And I see the sister has on a dress. Is that a certain kind of dress, or like what are the meanings behind some of the clothing you did?
Well, that is an Angelina print. And that print, some people call it a dashiki print, but there's no such thing as a dashiki print. That's called Angelina. And of course, you remember our brothers and sisters back in the 70s wearing the Angelina print, kind of as a rebelliousness for the movements that they were doing then. But it's Angelina. It's a representation of the slave ships in the transatlantic slave trade. If you look at the design, if you hold it up, you can see the slave ship in that design.
Okay.
And that's just a basic maxi skirt, real beautiful. But people call it dashiki print, but just FYI, dashiki just means an oversized, colorful shirt.
Okay.
That's all dashiki means. So it's not, people like, you got any dashiki skirts? And I'd be like, even that sentence doesn't make sense.
And I see this is
And
another. I guess I got some confetti coming on the picture, but I see you do purses as well. It looks like she's having a purse.
well, I pick up the purses when I'm in Africa. They
Okay.
make them over here. So what I'll do is I'll purchase the purses and then I'll purchase the fabric and then I'll make stuff to match the purses when I come home.
Oh wow, that's phenomenal. So you're getting actual purses from Africa and bringing it to our people.
Absolutely. It's a couple things because when we talked earlier, I said I make about 90%. I don't make
Hmm.
waist beat, but I get them when I'm in Africa and I bring them here. I don't make the leather and fabric fans. I get them when I'm over there and I bring them back. And the purses, it's a couple things I'll buy pre-made there, and then it's some stuff, the rest of it I'll make when I come back home. Um, Camouflage. She's wearing a camouflage skirt. Camouflage, funny enough, our sisters and brothers don't really wear in Africa, but in my mind, it goes along the lines because if you notice, I'm always ready for war. I always say
That's
we should be
right.
prepared for war. So it's just a part of putting it on. But you can't wear camouflage in Africa. It's you are impersonating the cops or the army, so you just can't do it. They'll pull you over like you got something else to wear.
Oh wow. Now how about now? This is a powerful dress. Um, that's just powerful right there. And this is at a fashion show that a lot of these sisters are styling at.
Well, this sister here is my brand ambassador. Her name is Nandi.
Okay.
She does my shows. She models at everything I give. She comes to every event as the brand ambassador. So you'll see Nandi a lot.
Okay.
She is the male face of my fashions, and then there's a brother, Black Root, who is the male face of our fashions. But these pictures were taken at my boutique. I have a backdrop up. She comes through. She take pictures just for my catalog purposes. The shows you'll see because it's tons of like lighting and craziness. And the picture that's up now is just one of my beautiful customers, Kimberly. They send me pictures and I'm always posting them. And I'm
Okay.
just always that our sisters and brothers just looking amazing.
Right. Now I do see you had some stuff for the brothers. I didn't get too many of those photos to share, but I of course you got a flow. Is this your T-shirt design? For the get your knee off our necks?
Yes, and that's my husband wearing it.
Okay.
And you can see he frowning. He frowns when I like I do all this bother and stuff, but sometimes you gotta do some things.
Wow.
The t-shirts, all that stuff is on my website.
Wow. Now I didn't have your website up. Please, before I let you go, drop the website so the people can get that information.
It's www.insacreations.com. It's the same as the Instagram, but just www.
Awesome. Awesome. My sister, I want to thank you so much. I know it was difficult to get on here, but you got on here. You worked that technology out. So I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and I'm going to share this. And again, I told you we're going to promote it. And of course, I got to get you to that UNIA meeting. So, we pushing hard to get all of our entrepreneurs, our brothers and sisters out there and hit that community hard. So I got you covered. Thank you so much for a powerful interview.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you so much for helping me with that technology. I appreciate you. I will call on the ancestors to bless you and to do all of the things that you are put forth here to do. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much again. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
You got it. All right. That was our beautiful sister, Marjorie Nicole. She did a phenomenal job at Nsaa Africa Creations. And I just want to thank her again. And man, we got a lot of powerful shows coming up. So stay tuned. I think we got a show tomorrow, I believe. But stay tuned, you guys, to get the alerts. And again, we are out of here. Peace and blessings, Hotep. And I'll see you guys on the other side. One. P.S. Also check out my previous podcast. We was talking about the debate. It was powerful. Getting a lot of threats from white people. It's crazy. Y'all be safe. Hotep.
Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it.
We good. Hold on 1 second before you go. Hold on 1 second.
Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it.